More and more, utility terrain vehicles, or UTVs, are becoming commonplace in the Forest Service. These motorized off-highway vehicles are used for such things as transporting people and cargo, prescribed burning, and trail work. In this program, you will learn how to safely operate your UTV. Utility terrain vehicles and all-terrain vehicles are designed for off-road use and are capable of maneuvering over uneven terrain. They both have 4 or more low-pressure tires and can be two-wheel or all-wheel drive. Despite these similarities, there are critical differences between the two vehicles. UTVs are bigger and have a larger cargo capacity than ATVs. UTVs can carry passengers, while ATVs can't. UTVs have seat belts, unlike ATVs. UTVs have a steering wheel, whereas ATVs have handlebar steering. UTVs have a foot-controlled gas pedal, while ATVs utilize a handlebar throttle. UTVs use a pedal-operated brake and a parking brake, whereas ATVs have a handlebar brake and a foot brake. UTVs are not rider active, while ATVs are. UTVs are capable of incorporating a rollover protection system known as ROPS, while ATVs do not. The Forest Service uses only UTVs with ROPS certification. Before operating a UTV, you will need to complete a job hazard analysis, which includes an emergency evacuation plan. Make certain everyone has reviewed and understands the JHA. Personal protective equipment is extremely important while driving or riding in a UTV. Here are the items you will need. Head protection. A UTV operator or passenger must wear a full or 3/4 face motorcycle helmet that meets the requirements of the Department of Transportation, the ANSI Z90.1 standards, or the Snell Memorial Foundation standards. Unless the UTV is equipped with a windshield, you'll need appropriate eye protection, such as your helmet's face shield, goggles, or safety glasses. Appropriate field footwear, long pants, and a long sleeve shirt, and gloves if determined by the job hazard analysis. Additional equipment you will need includes a first aid kit, fire extinguisher, a personal communications device such as a two-way radio, cellular phone, or satellite phone, and the owner's manual and toolkit. And although not required, you should consider hearing protection, a GPS, and multi-purpose tool. Always inspect your UTV before each use to ensure the vehicle is in proper operating condition. If a thorough inspection is not done, you or your passengers could be injured or the vehicle damaged. To help you complete the pre-ride inspection, remember this acronym: T-clock. For T, tires and wheels. Check the condition, air pressure, and lug nuts. For C, controls and cables. Check the accelerator, brakes, and shifter. For L, lights and electronics. Check the lights and other electronics, such as the ignition switch. For O, oil and fuel. Check the oil, fuel, and other fluid levels. Make sure there are no leaks. Also check the air filter. For C, chassis and drive shaft. Check the chassis, suspension, drive shaft, and external equipment. Check the underside of the chassis for damage. Shake the chassis and suspension system to be sure nothing is loose and that the shocks are operating properly. Check the drive shaft for oil leaks or missing nuts and bolts. Finally, ensure cargo, toolboxes, and other equipment are properly loaded and secure. There are specific guidelines for transporting a UTV. A UTV must be transported on a trailer, not in the bed of a pickup truck. Here are the main considerations for transporting a UTV. The towing vehicle must be rated and equipped to tow the loaded trailer. Trailers must also be rated to carry the full weight of the UTV, along with its rider and equipment. Before use, thoroughly inspect your trailer for proper function. Inspect the electrical system, brakes, tires, axles, frame, safety securing chain, and towing hitch.
A safe way to hook up a trailer is going to be, number one, you want to get centered on your tongue to your hitch. You want to make sure that once you're aligned, you crank down the tongue onto the hitch, making sure that the ball here of the hitch is properly aligned with the tongue. There are going to be times when it doesn't line up quite right. You get some weight onto the vehicle, take the trailer and you wiggle it a little and she'll drop right on to the hitch. Then go ahead and crank the tongue of the trailer down. Now, when cranking the trailer down, you want to make sure and use the handle here and not try and put your fingers and whip it around. That can cause injuries. Go ahead and lower the tongue down onto the hitch, taking the weight off the leg of the jack. Once you've done that, you can come up, remove your pin, slide the hitch forward to lock it into place. Take your safety pin, install it in through the lock hole, and lock the pin into place. Then you're going to want to take your safety chains, and you're going to want to make sure these are crossed. Cross them like so, and lock them into place. Now we have the chains crossed so that in the event of a breakaway, that the hitch comes away from the pickup or the tongue comes off the hitch, that it'll fall into this cradle, this X, and hold the tongue off up so that it will not come down and impact the ground. The next thing you want to connect is going to be your breakaway cable. Now, your breakaway cable, you have two ways of doing it. You can insert it through the safety chain hole, and if you have a device to where you can clip it onto itself like so, you can do that. Or you can simply take the pin out here, lock this in on lock that in on the pin like so, reinstall your pin, and it's locked in place. One of the things you do not want to do is your safety chain and your breakaway cable are two different devices. You do not want to take this cable and weave it through these open links. They are two different devices. You do want to keep them separate. The next thing we want to do is go ahead and crank the jack all the way up. And once your jack is all the way up, you'll take your lever, flip that over, lock it into place. The last thing we want to do is grab your light cord here. Now on your light cord, you have a little lip to lock into place, and on the inside of the plug on the vehicle, you'll have another little tab that this will lock behind. Insert the two together firmly, let the tongue come down, and it'll lock it into place, and you're ready to go.
For UTVs, ramps must be able to accommodate the combined weight of the UTV, the rider, and any equipment that cannot be removed during transport. Ramps must be factory manufactured and made of welded aluminum or steel. Wooden ramps are not permitted. Ramps can be one piece or two pieces. They can be rigid or folding, as long as the hinges were installed by the manufacturer. To place a ramp, choose an area that allows for a safe ramp angle. The ramp angle from trailer to ground has the largest influence on safety. If the ramp angle is reduced and all other conditions remain the same, your chances of injury are also reduced. Place the ramp on as level of ground as possible. The more level the ground, the less likely the UTV will roll over. Once your ramp is in place, securely affix it to the trailer bed to prevent rearward movement when loading and unloading your UTV. To load the UTV, wear your personal protective equipment, fasten your seatbelt, and slowly drive up the ramp. Use a spotter if available. Pay close attention to the spotter and their directions. The spotter should remain in clear view and should not stand directly in the path of travel. Once loaded, turn the UTV's ignition to off. Place the transmission in the recommended gear and set the parking brake. For transport, a minimum of 4 ratchet-type tie-downs, 2 in front and 2 in back, must be used to secure the UTV to prevent forward, backward, and sideways movement. The tie-downs are usually attached to the UTV's frame and trailer's cargo anchors. Do not attach tie-downs to the cargo racks unless otherwise stated in the owner's manual. When you transport or use hazardous materials such as gasoline, diesel fuel, drip torch mix, or other chemicals such as pesticides, follow all local, state, and federal transportation guidelines and meet the specification requirements stipulated in these 2 guides. Before you head out to the field, consider these safety questions. Is the UTV the appropriate vehicle for the work project or activity? Do I have the experience and training needed to operate the UTV? Do I understand the capabilities and limitations of my UTV? Has my UTV had its annual maintenance inspection by the manufacturer, a certified UTV mechanic, or fleet manager? Has my UTV been modified in any way, because most modifications are not allowed? Do I know how to load, unload, and transport my UTV? Have I checked the UTV's cargo carrying capacity? Have I reviewed the JHA and emergency evacuation plan? Have I planned for the predicted weather and expected working environment? Do I have the personal protective equipment I'll need? Do I have communications? Have I completed my pre-ride inspection checklist? And finally, have I remembered to check out with my home unit? Once you are ready to embark on your trip, follow these safe operating practices. If you improperly load your UTV, you may increase your risk of rolling it over. Cargo can and will affect how a UTV handles. When carrying equipment or cargo on your UTV, never exceed the UTV's gross vehicle weight rating or the cargo carrying capacity. When loading cargo, keep it centered and as far forward as possible. Place heavier objects on the bottom and lighter objects on the top. Consider making 2 trips when a lot of cargo or heavy cargo needs transported, especially in rough terrain. Secure the cargo with a net, bungee cords, straps, or ropes to prevent shifting. When carrying liquid, take extra precautions. When a liquid sloshes back and forth, large amounts of weight are shifted on the UTV. Ensure each liquid tank does not exceed the load carrying capacity for the UTV, and baffling devices are recommended. When heading out to the field, try to work in pairs whenever possible. Always wear your seatbelt and never let anyone ride in the cargo bed. Keep alert to signs of vehicle defects, such as unusual noises or vibrations, and take immediate action. Always adjust your driving to the conditions, terrain, and your experience level. Do not drive at excessive speeds or engage in horseplay. When turning, be careful to not turn at high speeds or abruptly, as the UTV may roll over. Whenever encountering obstacles, try to go around them or remove them. If you have to cross an obstacle, approach it straight on and use caution. Finally, yield the right-of-way to hikers and bicyclists, and pull over and stop the engine when encountering livestock. Take extra precautions when handling slopes. The owner's manual for each UTV will specify the slope capabilities of the machine. If you are unsure about the steepness of a slope, get off the UTV and walk the route. Be aware that slopes may be steeper than they appear, especially in rough terrain. If a slope exceeds your machine's capabilities, back up and find another route. The best way to traverse a slope is to climb it straight up or descend it straight down. Never attempt to turn around mid-slope. If needed, back up. Never operate a UTV loaded to its carrying capacity on more than a slight slope or over a slope with very rough terrain. Be careful of deep or swift-moving water when encountering water crossings. Hazards exist when the bottom contains such things as mud, boulders, or other debris. The depth is not consistent through the entire route of travel. The width or water turbidity prevents a complete view of the bottom across the route of travel. The current or depth may stall the engine, or when the current is forceful enough to require you to counteract it to maintain balance or direction of travel. To park your UTV, engage the brake, shift the transmission into the recommended gear, turn off and remove the keys, block the tires if on an incline or decline, and follow the manufacturer's recommendations for shutting off the fuel if you'll be parking for longer than a day or two. At the end of each day's use, perform a post-operation inspection to make sure your UTV is still in good working condition. Now you are ready to embark on your own UTV trip. But take it easy. It takes time to become a truly proficient driver. And remember to ride within you and your UTV's capabilities.